Good morning all of you student. So welcome to lecture series on TyBsc Physics, and we have to seen here to start the subject which is the solid state physics, which is the subject number third for the semester third. And in this lecture we want to start the first chapter. That chapter is the crystal state, the crystalline state. So we have two introduction parts here. So this is very interesting chapter because we have to know that solid state physics which have possesses the various phenomena of the atoms or the molecules or the crystalline phenomena, or which have described the nature that atoms or molecules which are crystal structure or which are amorphous structure, and what is the arrangement of the atoms or the voids or the etc. So these all parts we have to see in this chapter. So the introduction part, what is the syllabus cover in this chapter we have to see, and that consider the introduction part, consider as we have to see here, we have to interesting see here the what is mean by the lattice, or what is the configuration of the basis, what is mean by the translational vectors, primitive unit cell, summary of the operations, different types of the lattice, what is the symmetry, what is mean by the Miller indices or how it is obtained, or what is mean by the simple cubic structure, base center cubic structure and face center cubic structure, atomic radius, number of atom in a unit cell, what is mean by the packing fraction, or concept of the reciprocal lattice and properties of the reciprocal lattice. All of these part which is see in this lecture. So which is in this lecture or in this chapter. So we have to continue this first chapter, which is the crystalline state. So first of all we have to see that actually what is meant by the solid state physics, because this solid state physics which is considered as the study of the rigid matter or solids through the methods of the such as quantum mechanical method or crystallography method or electromagnetism or metallurgy. So in this that phenomena we have to clear got the idea what study which is involved in the solid state physics. So that in introduction part, that solid state physics is the study of solid state physics is the study of rigid matter or solids, study of rigid matters or solid, and that which have depends on through the methods of the quantum mechanics. So that through the methods of solids, through the methods of such as quantum mechanical method, so that is quantum mechanics method. After we have to see that the method of crystallography, again we have to see that method which is given by the electromagnetism. This is also very interesting concept, that is the magnetism, or we have to behavior or discuss the method of or properties of the metallurgy. So on this such phenomena, so that solid state physics, which has the study of the rigid matters or the solid structures, and actually say that what is mean by solid state, that solid state physics, which is also that briefly study on the material science, and for this property of the material science, the solid state physics, that the study of the properties of the matter, and that matter consider of the atoms or the molecule in the solid state, and that which type of such property, that property which consider as the geometrical property, thermal properties, electrical property, and magnetic property. So that solid, and again we have to see that the solid state physics, the solid state physics is the solid state physics is the study of matters, matter such as atoms and molecules, so that such as rigid matter or ions in the solid state, ions in the solid state, which is depends on the property, depends on various property, and such property is given by properties is given by, so that first property, which is geometrical properties, so that geometrical property which has consider what type of the nature of the lattice, or actually what is mean by the lattice, what is mean by the basis, and how it is the formation of the unit cell or the primitive cell, or the symmetry of the crystallography, or different types of the structure is there, that is simple cubic structure, FCC structure, BCC structure. So how it is orientation, that is which is includes in the geometrical property. Next main property that depends on, or that depends on or study of the solid state physics, which is considered as the thermal property of the material. So first one is geometrical property of the material, second one is the thermal properties of the material, thermal properties of material, third one which is given by the electrical property of the material, electrical properties of material, and next property which is given as the magnetic properties of the material. Magnetic properties of material. So such this property we have to very get, or we have to got very clearful phenomena of the solid state physics. Okay, so that such property we have to use to the study of the solid state physics. Now next point we have to consider here, that solid state physics which deals the concept of the crystal structure and property of the crystalline state, or we have to see that what is mean by the crystalline state. So next point which is given by here, so the point which is given is crystalline state, or what is meant by the crystalline state. So that crystalline state is nothing but the matter which is in the solid state processes that have definite shape and definite mass, that definite mass. So consider, so that matters type, three main types such as solid types, such as liquid types, and such as gaseous type. So first of all we have to consider for the matter type, that matter in a solid state physics which possesses the definite shape and definite mass. For example, we have to consider that have liquids, that we have to know that the property of the liquid, that liquids which has not possessed the definite shape but liquid have the definite mass. And we have to consider in the gaseous molecule, that gas molecule which has given does not also definite shape and definite mass of the particle, and that for the we have to consider the separation between the definite volume or definite shape of the neighboring atoms in the solids or liquids, which are considered the space between the molecule or separation distance between the molecule, which is the range of the few angstrom unit. But in consider the gaseous molecule, the separation between the neighboring atoms which has the space which is given by the 25 angstrom unit and above that, so that clear that what is the idea of the matter. So matter or liquid or the gases, so we have to consider here, so that matter, that property of matter has we have to given is the definite shape as well as definite mass. Correct. Next phenomena which I have considered as the for liquid state, and that liquid which is given as, so liquid it does not have the definite shape, does not have definite shape, but it has also a definite volume, it has also definite volume. And we have consider for the molecule such as the gas molecule, and that gas molecule which consider the that do not possesses the either definite volume or definite shape, so that has do not possesses definite volume or shape. Okay, so these are the properties of the crystalline state which I have considered as the matter, liquid and gases. And consider for crystalline state, the atoms are closely packed and voids between them are very small, and due to the small voids particle motion which is limited as the vibratory motion, and the magnitude of the interparticle force which is very large. So, and that's why the accounts for the large density of the solid which have definite shape and definite mass or definite volume. Okay, so and that have to depends upon the consider of the property which is considered as the geometric property of the solid. So what information is here for the solid state which has considered as the closely packed structure, closely packed structure and whiles. So the atoms are closely packed and voids between them are very small, and voids between them are very small. So actually what is mean by the atoms are is very packed structure and the voids between them is very small, or what is mean by the voids? So consider as this the crystal structure of the atom. So consider this is the circular part which is considered as the atom structure or molecule. Okay, or that molecules which are the closely packed structure, correct? So for example this molecule, or consider this molecule. Okay, so like this type of the structure of the atoms or the molecules which are closely packed molecules. Okay, so why I am show figure is what is the purpose, because we have to know that what is meant by the voids. So these are the molecules of the atoms. Okay, and the space between these molecules, two molecules or three molecules or more than molecules which are closely packed, to each other. So simply this space, this configuration space or this empty space between two or three molecule, this is known as the voids. This is known as the voids. This is empty space between the two or more molecules of the atoms. Okay, so or we have to show that, so that the space between these two or more atoms or molecules with this empty area which is known as the voids, and these voids are very small, and due to these small voids the particle motion which is limited vibratory motion, because you have to know that uh, molecule or atom have the spectra which is given as the molecular spectra, such as vibrational spectra, such as rotational spectra. So that in terms of that cell, the vibration of the atoms which are very limited due to the interparticle force which is these atoms which is very large, and that's why the density of the solid which is high or large density, and that because this large density that atom has or molecule has, or consider simply known as the matter have, which has the definite shape and definite volume, and that depends upon this area which have the definite geometrical patterns and involved in the close packing of the particle. So again, what is the effect of the temperature and pressure on the solid material or the matter? So that concept which is given as due to the effect of the uh, temperature or the pressure, that solid state substance can maintain its shape even it is affected by the changes in the temperature and pressure, and those solid which have regularity in the atomic and molecular structure are known as the crystal. So simply what is the idea? So that idea, if given any matter, if we heat this matter, okay, so what happens, this is melted, this is melted, and which has the particle behavior which are loosely packed for this. And if we see that if this matter which is cool, so that is maintain it is the original position, and that is the main property of this material, which is have the regularities in the atomic and molecular structure are known as the crystal. So we have to see here that solids are generally classified into two types, that is crystalline solid, and that crystalline solid which is given as the polycrystalline or single crystal, and next type which is the amorphous solid. So these two types are very interesting type. So the solids generally classified which is into two group, that two group consider as the crystalline solid or amorphous, that crystalline has the polycrystalline and single crystal. So that solid generally classified into two groups. So that solid generally classified into two groups. So that two groups which is considered as that first solid which is considered as the crystalline solid, and that crystalline solid which is considered as polycrystalline or single crystal. Okay, so this is the first type of the solids, so that is crystalline solid. And second types which is given as the amorphous solid or amorphous solid. So these are the main two types of the solid physics or solids. So we have to see first of all what is meant by the crystalline solid. So that crystalline solid, that substance whose constituent particle possesses a regular order arrangement. So what is meant by that crystalline solid? So simply say that crystalline material which have regular order or closely packed structure or periodic structure, which is known as the crystalline solid. Or what is meant by the amorphous? That amorphous which is known as that does not have closely packed structure or does not the periodic structure of the matter or the solids. So that a crystalline substance consider as for this type, so such as the crystalline solid, and that crystalline solid which is given as a crystalline solid is a substance crystalline solid is a substance whose constituent particles which are possess a regular order arrangement. Possesses a regular order arrangement. So simply what is meant by this crystalline solid, that crystalline solid is substance whose constituent particle possess regular order arrangement. Or what is meant by consider the regular order arrangement? So that type of the material which is given as the closely packed structure. Simply say that closely packed structure. So for example, so what is meant by closely packed structure? So for example, this material or this material, so consider as this material are the closely packed, or no more distance between the voids of the two or more structures of the material or the matter. So that is known as the crystalline solid. Okay, and that, for example, which is that the crystalline solid example, so consider as the sodium chloride, sodium chloride. Next one which is given as the diamond, or any type of the solid consider as the quartz structure. So these are the crystalline solid. So for example, how it is, so this is next further part, or but I have show here the simple idea what is the type of this crystal structure. For example, the sodium chloride. So for example, these are the different lattice point which has regular arrangement or as well as the periodic arrangement of the substance. Okay, so sodium chloride, so that is given by, for example, this is Na plus atoms, or this is Cl minus. Again this is Na plus, or this is Cl minus. This Na plus, so this is Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus, Na plus. Again here Na plus, Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus. So this is the compact arrangement of the matter or the molecule or atom or substance. So this is known as the crystalline solid, and this the crystalline solid which is heat, its temperature is rises up and the melting point. So that is mean by, if you have to heat this crystalline structure, as the melting point temperature, so it is the melt. Or for on the cooling process, so that the regular geometric shape appears again, and this is known as the solid form, and this structure is known as the crystalline structure. Next type of the classification of the solids which is considered as the amorphous solid, or types of which is given as the amorphous. Or generally, what is the idea of the amorphous solid? So amorphous solid which is considered as the substance whose constituent particle which is do not possess a regular order arrangement, which are do not possess a regular order arrangement. So that is known as the amorphous solid. So an amorphous solid is a substance, and amorphous solid is a substance whose constituent particles